What's up, everybody? Justin here. We are back. We are doing a new stuff update tonight. I've been collecting shit, putting it to the side for the past couple of weeks to do one of these, and I think I've got enough to finally talk about here. So, first, we are listening to Ill Omen. This is Radiant Behest of Excessum. Ill Omen is a black metal band from Australia. They've been around for several years now, and this was a demo that came out in 2013. It came out in this A5 Digipack tape plastic box clamshell thing. It's pretty cool if you open it up. It's got all the liner notes and text and everything. This came out on Ceremonial Oath Records, which before Ceremonial Oath was around, they were very briefly called Ritual Decay, I think. Ritual something Offerings. I don't remember. But one of my bands put out a tape on that label. Anyway, Ill Omen. Now this is not new. I've had this for many, many years. I bought it when it came out. It's just what I'm listening to tonight. The guy behind this, his name is Mitch. He's also in Temple Nightside and a couple other bands. But he's a pal of mine, and I've done a bunch of design work for him for his bands and layouts and stuff. And he sent me the new Ill Omen material recently to listen to, and it's fucking killer. But this is just grim, fucking kind of morbid black metal. It's got a very ritualistic and deathly vibe to it, and I love it. But this only came out on this format, but there's an LP compendium that came out a year or two ago that has this material on it. Got a little card there. That's Mitch. I don't know his black metal name. And then I found inside of this a letter. Like, you can't read that, but this is from the label owner. And to the best of my knowledge, he kind of left the metal scene. But this letter talks about he was apologizing for his lack of contact with me, and says his reality was shattered after JC killed himself. I don't know who he's talking about. I'm going to have to do some research there. And then down here it says, LSD and DMT will unlock our future. So, I don't know whatever happened to that guy. Who knows? Maybe he got converted. I don't know. Anyway, into the stuff. I've got a stack of CDs first. And first up, I have these two stone cold fucking classics. Fleshcrawl's debut, Descend into the Absurd, and their second album, Impurity. So, I've liked Fleshcrawl for many, many years. The first thing I ever heard by them was As Blood Rains from the Sky or whatever. And then I got the album that followed that, Made of Flesh. And I really like Made of Flesh. It's kind of a heavy-handed HM2, you know, Swedish by way of Germany death metal band. Kind of real dismembery, real Entomb sounding. But about 10 years ago, I got this. Started listening to it, and found out that legit copies of it are fucking impossible to come by for a decent price. It was released on Black Mark Productions, and it's only been pressed once. So this is a bootleg, and these bootlegs have been floating around eBay and other sites for the past couple of years. This one is not done very well. The artwork is really, really dark and kind of muddy looking. But it's a faithful reproduction of the original booklet. It looks like someone scanned all the pages on the original, and they took some care in making this look really well. It's not pixelated. It's not, you know, nothing. It doesn't look bad, but it's obviously a bootleg. But it's a high-quality bootleg. I just don't like how dark the artwork came out. But this is just a fucking morbid, dark death metal record. It really toes the line between... This came out in '92. So it really toes the line between like the Tampa sound and the Scandinavian death metal sound like perfectly. It's just a dark, grim, early 90s death metal record. One of my absolute favorites. So then, I just kind of ignored the rest of their material. I liked the newer stuff at the time, and I don't know what they've done past Made of Flesh. And Made of Flesh is probably 10 or 12 years old. I need to look that up. And then Ben Smasher kept telling me, you gotta get their second one. You gotta get their second one. It's just as good as the first. So I bought it. And it's also really fucking hard to come by because it also came out on Black Mark and was only printed once. Now this is also a bootleg, and it is done very well. It's crisp, it's clean. It looks like they scanned something, but they cleaned it all up. It's not pixelated, it's not low quality. And it sounds good. It sounds like it was, some care was taken with it. And I don't care about bootlegs like this when it's a CD that there's a demand for and people are paying 3 figures for these albums and the label won't, that may or may not hold the rights to it, won't repress them, I'm all for it, man. I want this, you know? I want this album. And if I were to pay $100 for it on Discogs, that money's not going to this band. It's going to some asshole in Germany's pocket. So, or Russia. Why is every seller on Discogs in Russia? Anyway. This one's just as good as the first one. It's a little more dismembery sounding, but it's fucking killer. Just killer, mandatory, early 90s death metal. So then, recently I did a 5-minute favorites about one of my favorite albums of all time, Monstrosity's In Dark Purity. And I talked about how I love that album, and I like the first 2 albums. I don't own them. I don't know them as well as In Dark Purity. And then after In Dark Purity, I kind of ignored them. Well, I went back and I bought the other Jason Avery material because he's my favorite vocalist of Monstrosity's career. He's one of my favorite death metal vocalists, period. So this is Enslaving the Masses. This is a 2-CD set that came out in 2002, 2001 or 2002. Somewhere in there. The first disc is demo stuff. It's the Horror Infinity demo, and it's the Stages of Decay demo, and it's 5 or 6 demo tracks from Imperial Doom. So, got a nice collage there. All of the tracks on disc 1 feature George Fisher, but the first 5 tracks right here, focus, from Imperial Doom are just mandatory 90s death metal. It does not get any better than these Imperial Doom tracks. It is just the Florida death metal sound to a fucking T. Also, some trivia. For those of you who are fans of Assuck, as you should be, as am I, this was mastered by Steve Heritage. A lot of people don't know that. Steve Heritage, the guitarist vocalist of Assuck, was an engineer at Morrisound. He probably still is. So, and then the second disc, disc 2, is a live set. It's actually several live sets put together to sound like one. And some of the songs were recorded in Atlanta, and I was at that show. Unfortunately, it does not say which songs are from which cities. There's 5 cities featured, but I was at one of these shows, and it was fucking awesome. But this is just mandatory. If you like In Dark Purity, if you like old Monstrosity, if you like Monstrosity's first 3 albums, get this set. I got it for like a few dollars. Alright, then next I bought Rise to Power. This is the record that followed In Dark Purity. It's the second and last record that Jason Avery was on. And this one's good. I've listened to it a couple of times. I need to really get acquainted with it. This came out on Metal Blade. Wait, did it? Yeah, it came out on Metal Blade. And it's good. It's dark. It's in the same vein as In Dark Purity. It's just it doesn't have that quality that In Dark Purity does. It's a little less exciting. It's a little less impactful, I guess. But the lineup on this is the lineup that I saw live twice during the In Dark Purity era. So this is good. It's definitely good. I think this is the last great thing the band did. I'm not real crazy about them now. They've got 2 full lengths since then with a different singer. And eventually I'll invest some time in them. But for now, I'm going to stick with the first 4 records and this 2 CD set. I made the comment the other day that I don't like CDs in little baggies. But someone made the comment that I took the care to put it back in. And yes, I did. Eventually I'll throw that fucking thing away when I'm trying to fuck with it in the car one day. But why do you put your CDs in bags, man? They're just fucking CDs. Jewel cases are fucking dime a dozen. Buy more if they break. So, a couple of videos ago, I talked about Cradle of Filth. And it came to my attention that I did not have Vampire, nor did I have the Principle of Evil Made Flesh. So, I got on Discogs and I bought them both for very little money. Both of these are first presses on Cacophonous Records, which is pretty cool. And I paid less than $10 for both of them. Principle of Evil Made Flesh is their debut, and it's okay. It's really rough compared to their second and third records. You can really tell that they were a young band trying to develop their sound, but they were also way ahead of the curve when it comes to this kind of black metal. So it's good. I mean, it's a good, rough look at the genesis of Cradle of Filth. And I think that if you're a fan of theirs at all, it's mandatory that you have this. And I listened to it a bunch last week. So, but Vampire is fucking killer. It is right up there with Dusk and Her Embrace. And I love the inside artwork. This is also called, it's Vampire or Dark Fairy Tales in Philistine. And that's the Dark Fairy Tales in Philistine cover. And I like that cover better than this cover. This is an EP. It's 40 minutes long though. So, I mean, these days, by any standard, that's a full-length record. But this is also mandatory if you are a Cradle of Filth fan. I'm glad that I finally got it. I ignored it. I had just bought the full lengths for years. And I don't know why. I never got it. Never saw it in front of me. So I grabbed it. So next, on to the records. I have 3 records here. First, I have Portal's new album, Ion. I talked about the CD version of this in my first new stuff video I did a couple months ago. This version is gatefold. Really, really high quality. It has a printed inner sleeve. Now, all of these equations, if you read them very closely, they are the credits for the album. It is on super ultra clear vinyl. Nerd note, ultra clear vinyl is the best sounding vinyl because it has not been dyed. It's virgin. Clear, white, black, solid colors, those are your best sounding vinyl. You get into mixes, you get into swirls and speckles and shit, that's when you start getting a lot of quality loss. Does all that matter? Not really. This also comes with a fucking gigantic poster. I'm not going to open it. It's the cover art. But it's like, it's fucking huge. It's like 6 feet fucking tall. Portal rules. The layout on this is really, really progressive. But it's a pain in the ass to read. It looks like a bunch of fucking math equations. But if you've ever met Shane, the singer of Portal, he's a really fucking odd guy. So, but he's rad. He has a really, really weird sense of humor. So next we have the new Abigor record. I've actually had this for a while, and it was supposed to be my last new stuff video, and I forgot about it. This is Hollenswig, Chronicles of Perdition. The spine text, if that'll, it probably won't focus, it's so small, it's fucking upside down. Now listen, I love this record. Black vinyl. This new Abigor record is insane. It sounds like 3 albums, 3 songs playing at one time. It's real cacophonous, it's real fucking non-linear, there's no verse, chorus, but it is just chaos. But it's so riffy and fucking evil sounding. I really, really took to it. But I think it may polarize some older Abigor fans or new fans that have no idea what they're getting themselves into. But it's got a cool layout. I like this kind of old school aesthetic. I really like the cover art. It's this weird photo collage thing. But it's a really fucking flimsy, shitty jacket. And it's got a goddamn seam split. And this is just a piece of fucking like Xerox paper they printed out. In today's vinyl climate, you've got to spend some time and money making your shit quality. Regardless, this album fucking rules. It's going to be at the top of my list for this year. I've listened to it a bunch. Last. This one is a fucking gem. This was a blind kind of... I stumbled upon this album last year, and I listened to it once, and immediately put it on my year-end list for best albums. I also have had this for a couple of months, and overlooked it on my last new stuff update. This is Wolsensmen with Songs from the Fjorgen. This is a heathen folk record. It's all acoustic guitars and clean singing. It is the project of Dan Capp from the band Winterfilleth, the English black metal band. I'm not a fan of Winterfilleth in the least. I've heard a little bit, and I just not going to get into it. I don't like it for several reasons. But this record is absolutely fucking beautiful. It's in line with something like Keldsvanger from Ulver. You know, just that the old kind of acoustic classical guitar, you know, stuff that black metal bands did in the early 90s. It all sounds like an intro for an album. But it is just absolutely beautiful. This is limited, 229 out of 500. It's got this really nice spot gloss border. That is the Wolsensmen logo, and that is printed in kind of a shiny Pantone. The layout on this thing is just absolutely gorgeous. I got it on black vinyl. I'm not going to pull that out. But there are the lyrics. It's not instrumental. It does have singing on it. There's Dan and all the credits. To the best of my knowledge, he self-released this. It has a label listed, but I think it's his label. But I'm not sure. Oh, no, it's on Haydn's Heart. And I bought this from his Bandcamp page directly. I think there's still copies available. But man, just, I cannot stress how incredible this album is. Wolsensmen, Songs from the Fjorgen. If you want something to fucking kick back to, sink into, it's not metal, this album right here. I will drop a link below, as I will with everything. So that's it. That's it for this round of new shit I have spent money on. So, let's talk about these. Let's comment, like, subscribe, tell your friends. I want more subscribers, more views. I enjoy doing this, but I want to get it out there more. So, let's talk. I'll talk to you guys later.